Pleasant day, everyone. We are about to embark on a new discussion and discovery about the psychoanalysis theory of Sigmund Freud. Did you know that certain experiences and unconscious desires we had during our childhood influence our behavior? Do you know where these unconscious desires come from and when they begin to develop? Do you wonder why some people suffer from mental disorders and others don't? Well, this is what Sigmund's theory of psychoanalytics is all about. If you are that curious enough, come and let's discover together the profound theory of psychoanalysis introduced by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud's theory suggests that human behavior is influenced by unconscious memories, thoughts, and urges. The psychoanalytic theory comprises three major concepts, and these are the following: stages of psychosexual development. Freud proposed that children develop in five distinct stages and must complete each stage to become psychologically healthy. The second is the concept of a personality component, where Freud proposed that the mind is divided into three components: id, ego, and superego, and that the interactions and conflicts among the components create personality. And lastly, Freud distinguishes three instances of personality according to the topographical model: conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. These can be clearly distinguished through the psychoanalytic experience gained in the course of working with clients.
Psychosexual stages of development. Freud's psychosexual theory states five stages of human development, which is the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. The psychosexual stages capture the main growth of the points of a person from infancy to adulthood and focuses on the different phases of wants and needs and desires. The theory emphasizes the essence of childhood experience in modeling future adults. The theory acts as a raw material for parenting practices and psychosexual implications at the same time, providing the theoretical framework from solving the libido and desired and different stages.
The five psychosexual stages are the oral, the anal, the phallic, the latent, and the genital. The erogenous zone associated with each stage serve as a source of pleasure. Being unsatisfied at any particular stage can result in fixation. On the other hand, being satisfied can result in a healthy personality. Oral are mouth-orientated, such as sucking, biting, and breastfeeding. Around this age, the child begins to toilet train, which brings about the child's fascination in the erogenous zone of the anus. Phallic traits are activity, penetration, being in control of both the world and of one's emotional life, strength, resoluteness, and assertiveness in general as well as in sexuality. During the latency stage, the libido is in do not disturb mode. A final stage of development, the genital stage, begins with the onset of puberty. During this period, the person seeks ways of satisfying sexual impulses in dyadic relationships and aggressive impulses through competition, physically demanding activities, exercise, and argumentation.
Hello, good day. Before anything else, let me introduce myself first. So I'm Christine Glova from BSED English 1B. In our group, we decided to assign ourselves in some certain topics about Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic. So in my part, I will be discussing under Freud's personality components. According to Sigmund Freud, human personality is complex and has more than a single component. In his famous psychoanalytic theory, Freud states that personality is composed of three elements known as the ID, the ego, and the superego. These elements work together to create complex human behaviors. So each component adds its own unique contribution to personality, and the three interact in ways that have a powerful influence on an individual. So each element of personality emerges at different points in life. So let's begin with the ID. According to Freud, the ID is the source of all psychic energy making in the primary component of personality. So the ID is the only component of personality that is present from birth. This aspect is personality is entirely unconscious and includes instinctive and primitive behaviors. The ID is driven by the pleasure principle, which strives for immediate gratification of all desires, wants, and needs. If these needs are not satisfied immediately, the result is a state of anxiety or tension. For example, an increase in hunger or thirst should produce an immediate attempt to eat or drink. This behavior would be both disruptive and socially unacceptable. According to Freud, the ID tries to resolve the tension created by the pleasure principle through the use of primary process thinking, so which involves forming a mental image of the desired object to satisfy the need. Next is the ego. According to Freud, the ego develops from the ID and ensures that the impulses of the ID can be expressed in a manner acceptable in the real world. The ego functions in the conscious, pre-conscious, and the unconscious mind. The ego is the personality component responsible for dealing with reality. So everyone has an ego. The term ego is something used to describe your cohesive awareness of your personal, but personality and ego are not the same. The ego represents just one component of your full personality. Example of the ego. Imagine that you are stuck in a long meeting at work. You find yourself growing increasingly hungry as the meeting drags on. While the ID might compel you to jump up from your seat and rush to the break room for a snack. The ego guides you to sit quietly and wait for the meeting to end. The last component of personality to develop is the superego. So according to Freud, the superego begins to emerge at around age 5. The superego holds the internalized moral standards and ideals that we acquire from our parents and society, or sense of right and wrong. The superego provides guidelines for making judgments. Example of superego. A student forgot to study for a history test and feels an urge to cheat off of a student sitting nearby. Even though he feels like the chances of getting caught are low, he knows that cheating is wrong, so he suppresses the urge. When talking about the ID, the ego, and the superego, it is important to remember that these are not three separate entities with clearly defined boundaries. These aspects are dynamic and always interacting to influence an individual's overall personality and behavior.
Hi, good day. Before I would start my discussion, let me introduce myself first. So, I am Rochelle Joyce A. Morgia from BSED English 1B, and in this video, I will be discussing the psychoanalytic theory by Sigmund Freud. So, to give you a background, who is Sigmund Freud? Well, he was an Asturian neurologist and the founder of the psychoanalysis, and one of his theory proposed of how the minds work and a method of helping people in mental distress. And this is the topographical model, and Freud believed that the majority of what we experience in our lives, which underlying the emotions, beliefs, feelings, and impulses are not available to us as a conscious level, and he believed that most of what drives us is buried in our unconscious. And Sigmund Freud believed that human mind has three parts, and this is the unconscious, preconscious, and the unconscious. And this is what we call the topographical model that he proposed. And somehow Freud use the analogy of the iceberg in order for us to deeply understand what the theories is talk about and yet to demonstrate. So, as you have noticed on the picture, the fraction arises above the surface of the ocean while the most of part of the iceberg shrinking and remain under the surface. So we have here Freud's first demonstrate the conscious, well, the level of mind where it's all about the mental process and sensation of which we are aware of. And in order for us to understand what is the conscious, it includes the fantasies, feelings, memories, perception, self-awareness, and sensation and thoughts. So, where it compromises our mental processing that we can think and talk about rationally. So, for instance, if you are hungry, of course, you are being aware of what you have feeling. So, you have decided to buy and to eat to feed yourselves. And another example, when a man knowing that he'll become a father, he is conscious of being a role model to his child. Knowing that the conscious mind involves of what he currently aware of. So, in general, a conscious mind is conceptualized the knowing and aware of a current situation or an event, and small part of who we are and awareness of what are in our surroundings and what are taking care. So, hence, its connection of our personality that drives with the ego were the only part of the conscious personality, and it's the person is aware of what when they think about themselves and what they usually try to project towards others. And we have also here the next level of the mind that below of the conscious is the preconscious. So in this level, this includes the things that can instantly know but can assess by association. So and the part of us that can reach prompted and but not enough to our conscious. For example, after watching TV Netflix last night and someone asks you about it and somewhat you still aware of what information that has and it pulls out your preconscious mind. And another example is the childhood memories with your friends, peers, and family which it stored or hidden in your preconscious mind. And lastly, we have the unconscious mind. Well, it explains in our parts where our unconscious mind can include repressed feelings, hidden memories, habits, thoughts, desires, and reaction, where our memories and emotions that are too painful, embarrassing, and shameful, and somewhat it compromise which hidden such traumatic events. So, for example, when a person had been abused by his or her parents during his phallic phase were 3 to 6 years old and he has no memories of abuse but he or she struggling to build relationship to others. So another example, dealing with phobia that your unconscious mind drags you onto it. So in this level, it explains of what experience in such traumatic events, the symptoms that experienced although which had been through their past experience and somewhat the complex of mental activities within an individual that proceed with his or her awareness. So this topographical model is somehow part of our personality of being aware on what notion we could take care of. Yet, Sigmund Freud divided human consciousness into three levels of awareness, and this is the conscious, preconscious, and the unconscious. Which of these levels correspond and overlaps with his ideas of the ID, ego, and the superego. So, without further respond, I hope you understand something of what this Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory distinguish about. So, thank you for watching and God bless.